Well, welcome into the Money Wisdom Podcast, powered by Johnson Brunetti. As always, this is Jake Dozer, certified financial planner and advisor on the team here in Connecticut, joined, of course, by Nick Colantuno. Nick is also a certified financial planner and advisor on our team in Massachusetts. And so it's a big picture question we have today that we're covering, which is how do you plan for a 30-year retirement? And I think it's a good question because I think that it implies the gravity of retirement. Retirement really serves as the back third of one's life. It used to be that, in retirement, Social Security was a huge part of that planning. And on average, people would draw on Social Security for around 10 years. Well, I don't know about you, but life expectancies are a lot longer than that now. And so oftentimes people are living for 30 years or even sometimes more in retirement. And you certainly want to be in a position where you have money at the end of your life, not life at the end of your money. And so really the question becomes, how do I plan for longevity? How do I plan to enjoy the different phases of retirement? And how do I use this money that I've worked so hard to build to make sure that it lasts a lifetime without conversely being afraid to use it in the first place because I'm afraid it's going to run out? There's a tension there to be managed. And so to that end, Nick, where do we start here as we're diagnosing and dissecting this question, and how do we address it?
Well, look, not only is it a good question, it is the question. It's the reason why we do what we do and why we have clients, because everyone's coming in at this point where a change is coming, right? You're working, you're earning, you're saving, you're contributing to these accounts, and then retirement happens and all that stuff stops. Right. But the bills don't. The world we live in doesn't stop getting any less expensive. None of us are getting any younger, any healthier. So now you've got other things like long-term care needs and medical costs to think about. So it is the core of what we do for our clients. It's planning for this next phase of life. And as you mentioned, Jake, gone are the days where you retire at 65 and life kind of ends around 75. Right now, we have to plan for a 30 plus year retirement. And the way you do that is, I would say step one is you need to just kind of do this inventory, right? I know we call it our fact finding meeting, but you really need to get a feel for what your income is going to look like in retirement, what your expenses are going to be in retirement, planning for those what ifs, whether it's around taxes or health costs or, planning for other goals or needs, whether it's legacy or, kids, grandkids, people getting married, right? Gifting, whatever your sort of life and your goals look like. But really taking a step back and saying, okay, this is what we know, right? I know how much money I've saved, right? I know how much my monthly expenses are going to be. And I know what my guaranteed sources of monthly income are. And that's it right there, right? That delta, the difference between what's coming in, what's going out, and what you've got in the background with which to facilitate that difference and help you make up the difference in that gap. I mean, that's really what it's all about. So again, step one is just that initial inventory, check in. And obviously from there, then you need to have those bigger picture questions regarding comfort level with risk and how hard that money needs to be working for you and how to address those what ifs around, healthcare and all these other things that of course we have to worry about. But yeah, longevity is planning for longevity is key.
That's right. If this type of question rings true to you, if you find yourself in a place where you're saying, look, I've saved my best I can, I'm on the precipice where I want to retire pretty soon, or, in the next 5 to 10 years, and I'm at the place where I don't know how to turn this money I've saved, this pile of cash, into income for life, into something that I can touch without fear, without staying up at night because I'm afraid, because I don't know how much I can withdraw. Look, we hear you. We understand. That's what we do for a living. And today we have a resource for you to be able to start wrapping your mind around, how do I make this transition? The most difficult financial transition of your life, that's what we're able to, and privileged to be able to help with. And so to that end, we have a starter kit. Are you ready to retire starter kit? So you can kind of take inventory. You can have a litmus test to figure out, am I ready to pull the trigger on retirement? So if you're interested in getting your hands on the Are You Ready to Retire starter kit, we'll send it to you completely free. simply text the word KIT, K-I-T, to our number 800-757-0436, and we'll send you the Are You Ready to Retire Starter Kit your way. Again, text the word KIT to 800-757-0436. So Nick talked about first, step one, taking inventory. What are your expenses? What, therefore, does your income need to be? What type of income do you have? Of course, you'll have guaranteed income from Social Security, perhaps a pension check or two in the household. And then you'll be left to come up with the difference from your investments. It used to be that would represent a rather insignificant amount of income that people needed to generate because pensions and Social Security represented such a large portion. But I don't know about you, friend, but my grocery bill isn't going down. My Eversource bill doesn't stop. And inflation rears its ugly head. And so that translates to us needing more and more income to supplement just to maintain a standard of living, let alone tackle those bucket list trips or be able to live that life that you want to. You know, a lot of times we think about retirement in 3 stages. We think about, and this is a little tongue in cheek, but it's the go-go years. Those are those early retirement years when you're going and you're taking the trips and checking off the bucket list items. And then maybe as you enter your 70s, it translates to the slow go years. Those are the years where maybe Europe is no longer on your list and perhaps it's trips up to Maine, or it might be a train trip across the country or something. And then, of course, around the 80s enters the no-go years. Those years you might be watching a lot of Jeopardy reruns. I don't know where you find yourself in, but each of those stages of life come with their unique challenges. First and foremost, of course, you have to be able to create sustainable income, again, just to maintain your lifestyle, just to keep the bills paid and the lights on. The second is accounting for fun money, being able to enjoy your money to an extent, but handling it, conversely, responsibly, making sure that you're not spending so much. You're not accounting for that third category of spending, which it comes up so often in those no-go years, the unexpected. Maybe that's, God forbid, a nursing home. Maybe it's home health care. Maybe it's an unexpected medical expense or a loss of a loved one and the income that comes along with that, such as Social Security and perhaps a pension. But you need to be able to be prepared for each of them. And so the way you do that is by having a plan, being prepared to create income in a variety of different ways, and ultimately aligning, again, the way you're investing with how you'll use that money. Now, of course, it's easy to, or it's easiest to align with the monthly income that you need, but you have to consider the unexpected expenses. And that translates to needing to take a second look at how you're investing your money. If all of your money is sitting on the sidelines in cash, not earning any interest, you might be safe, but you might be safely losing to inflation. If all of your income on the other side of the spectrum is sitting in high risk investments in the stock market, you might be in a position where sometimes it grows really well, but other times that unexpected expense might come in a downturn in the market. So where is the right happy medium? It's finding a balance that's unique and aligned to your perspective. So as Nick mentioned, let's start by taking inventory, income, expenses. Let's start by understanding the stages of life and making sure you're accounting for systematic withdrawals, expected expenses like fund money, and unexpected expenses. And then number 3, it's aligning the investments that you choose with how you're going to use this money in each of these stages of retirement. There's so much more, but for the sake of time, we'll leave that for the next episode. Hopefully today's been helpful. If it has, make sure to subscribe to this podcast or this video, this YouTube station if you'd like. Give us a like to make sure that we know what kind of content you like. Throw a comment down in the section if you want to give us some feedback or send a question our way. And as always, we'll see you next time on the Money Wisdom Podcast, powered by Johnson Brunetti.
Retirement isn't just about stopping work. It's about starting the life you want. Make sure you're ready with your free Are You Ready to Retire Starter Kit. Text the word KIT, K-I-T, to 800-757-0436. Text KIT to 800-757-0436 and take the first step toward a future you're excited about.
Investment advisory services offered through JB Capital LLC. Insurance products offered through JN Financial LLC.